What's up guys, Seffyr here. I'm back with Unepic. I'm sorry this has taken so long to get out. I like to call the series 1 week deep because I like to do it after about a week. But I got a super cold, and you may be wondering what the heck a super cold is because it's not actually a medically diagnosable condition. But a super cold is what I like to consider the kind of cold you get off of a 3-year-old. I live with a 3-year-old, and for some reason he got a cold, and then somehow he managed to turn every single virus and bit of bacteria that he may have picked up throughout the week and combine it onto a cold, which he then gave to me. So I've been feeling terrible for the last 2 weeks, but I'm feeling better now, so I'm decided to record Unepic. This will be kind of my final conclusions and thoughts on the game. If you like what you see and like what you hear, I guess from my amateur kind of point of view, you can go out and buy the game. Now, Unepic is a side-scrolling platforming RPG. It's fairly Metroidvania in style. It's so if you enjoyed Castlevania, or if you know what Castlevania is at least, think of it a bit like that. The game is actually early access at the moment. It is not 100% complete, but the development team, which I think is one guy to be honest, it is Francisco Teles de Menses. I'm sorry if I slaughtered your name, but that's the best I can do. I'm from New Zealand. We don't have Spanish or anything in New Zealand. But he has said that the game is 100% complete, or that the single player is 100% complete, and he's happy with it. They probably will still be bug fixes and whatnot, because this is technically still early access. But multiplayer may still need fixing. Now, I'm really sorry. I said in the Noob Adventures I'd try out multiplayer. I did try a few times, but the few times that I did, I got put into lobbies with people who were like, this is a private game, we're waiting for like one other person, can you please leave? So I was like, alright, fine. After about half an hour of that, I was like, nah, screw this, I can't be bothered with multiplayer, I'll do it some other time. So this will be only covering single player. Now that's a little bit disheartening because multiplayer is an aspect of this game, and it may be the one selling point on the game that may make you lean towards buying it. So if you want to see what multiplayer looks like, go check out some of the other videos on YouTube. I'm sure there are videos of it. But for now, I'll be covering the single player and my thoughts on single player. Now, as you can kind of see, this is really lo-fi, simple graphics. It's a sprite-based game from what I can tell. It runs at 1,000 frames per second on my computer. 1,000 frames per second is a little bit nuts. I think that's what Fraps caps out at, so it may actually be running higher than that. So this will run on pretty much anyone's computer. Yeah. So let's jump into the options here quickly. Video, I'm sorry, for anyone who's like got a really widescreen monitor, there's no field of view slider. Disappointing. Anyway, sarcasm aside. Full screen mode, windowed screen mode, respect the ratio, obviously keep your aspect ratio. Those are all fairly straightforward. Sound, once again, sprite-based game, no dialogue or anything, so nice obvious little sliders here to turn the volume up and down, turn the sound effects up and down, turn the music up and down. Always nice. Gameplay, little things here like autosave, tips. You can control your character with your mouse. Now that could be something that's actually something I've not looked into, but using the right button to move and the left button to attack, that's something I've not looked into, but that would be actually rather interesting because this entire game can be played without the mouse. The default controls are using the keyboard entirely, and I'll explain that a little bit later when I jump into the controls. Some other little options here. Debug mode, because of course it is early access, so there will be still some bug hunting at the moment. Controller management, that's also something else I'll look at. Languages, I can't really, now most of the time you'd think why would I look at languages? Now I can't really say anything about the translation of these, so I'm sorry about that. But down here you'll notice Un-English. This game has some incredibly nerdy references, like this game is just full of really stupid dialogue, and I mean stupid not like in an insulting kind of way, I mean like it's just so ridiculous sometimes. It's kind of like, it's easily one of the best selling points of this game is that the dialogue is a little bit like nerdy and horrible. But anyway, Un-English. English and Un-English, what's the difference? English is kind of like a watered down version of the dialogue. Not in the sense of they water out all the swearing and whatnot, because there is actually quite a bit of profanity in this game from what I can tell. But the references. The references are watered down a little bit in English, and in Un-English they are the original script as it is. It's probably not a spoiler, so I'll just say it anyway. It's also in my Noob Adventure, so go check it out. You get possessed by like this ghosty thing in like the tutorial area, and he pretty much spends the entire game with you and talking to you as you play through the game, so he's kind of like a companion character. In English, his name is Zero. Your character decides to call him Zero, much to his dismay, but he calls him Zero, and you may be thinking, Zero, okay, that's nothing too out of the ordinary. In Un-English, he calls him Zeratul, like Zeratul, like the Protoss guy from StarCraft. And there are just all kinds of ridiculous other ones. That's the only one I know off the top of my head. So if you want to see the game in all its nerdy glory, go un-English. And if not, just go English or any other language, depending on what you want to play it in if you speak any other languages. If you speak these languages and don't understand English, I don't know why you're watching my video. Anyway, controls. As you can see here, there's a fairly basic layout of controls. You can actually set these to anything. They can be rebound to anything, which is really nice, although only one binding, which is a little bit disappointing. But it's also alright, because nearly every single thing on the keyboard can be bound within the game to do certain things. I'll get into that when I get into the game. As you can see here, there is also controllers here. Now this is all Xbox controls. Now I'm sorry, I don't know how well it'll work with other controls, but I do know it works fairly well with the Xbox control. If you want to see what the Xbox control plays like, go check out Jesse Cox's video of Unepic. He started playing it over on his channel on OMFG Kata, or CAATA. I'll put a link to it in the description. He started playing it, he's enjoying it. But from what I can tell, because of the unique way that things can be bound in this game, it seems like every so often he has to put his controller down and press things on his keyboard to do things within the game. I don't know if that'll be an inconvenience, or if you can bind some of these other like controls to different buttons on the Xbox pad. But yeah, it's really up to personal preference. It controls well from what I can tell with the Xbox controller, but it controls fine with the keyboard. You can leave all of these controls fairly default and you'll play just fine. It's just a matter of getting used to them. I am actually going to change this, because this changed with the latest patch. It reset my controls. I tried to play a little bit before and I was like, I can't get used to this, so E, there we go. Now I can attack with E. That's much nicer for me. So yeah, that covers it all. There's really basic options. Yeah. Sorry I won't be checking out multiplayer. I don't have any experience with that, so I can't really give you a kind of view on that, but I will be checking out single player. So, single player, as you can see, here's my level 8 character. I've played for nearly 7 hours, which is quite a bit of time. I'm also only explored 44% of the map, which I guess kind of goes to just using kind of a basic mathematical system. You can kind of figure out that the game, if you're going at my pace, will take 13 hours to complete. So, yeah. But, yeah, 7 hours and I'm level 8. That's like level an hour. So, yeah. Anyway, let's load this up, and I'll try to talk about it. Now, I'm really sorry, this may not be very good, because this is my first time actually playing and talking at the same time, so I'll try and go through as much as possible and try not to stumble around too much. But if I stop talking, or if I start doing nothing and getting really boring, I'm sorry. This is the first time I've actually tried to give a proper critique on the game while I'm playing it. So, as you can see, this is Unepic. It's a side-scrolly sort of dungeoning game. Your story is you're trapped in this castle, and you're pretty much trying to find your way out. It starts off with you playing Dungeons and Dragons with your friends, and as per the norm is, you think that your friends have spiked your drink and you've ended up in this magical castle, yet for some unexplained reason you're in this magical castle. And the first conclusion your character jumps to is that your friends playing Dungeons and Dragons spiked your drink. No! So yeah, that was my plant getting hit in the face with a fireball. That little plant following me around is actually a pet. It does stuff. I don't remember what it does. I think it steals the life off of enemies it attacks, or something like that. Now, I can't remember. But yeah, you kind of run through these little dungeony room things and do quests for people. It's really basic RPG kind of stuff, like you do quests for people and they'll do nice stuff for you, and no, let's not go that way. And they'll give you prizes and stuff. Now, one of the things I was pointing out before is that the bindings are rather nice. The bindings are really nice because you can bind anything to anything. Like, I'll show you once I've killed this guy thing, this floating shelter.
Shelter!
And not get hit in the face by fireballs because they hurt. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the binding system is actually really cool because there are so many items in this game and you can bind anything to anything. Like, I'll jump into the inventory here. See, I've got all this stuff here. You can literally find anything and go into a sign shortcut. You can press anything on your, like, there you go. Press the shortcut key. Numbers and letters can be used. Keys can be combined with shift and control. You can bind anything to anything. Like, I've got my potions bound to my R key because I'm used to, like, World of Warcraft, so pressing keys near my WASD cluster is easier for me. So yeah, you can bind anything to anything, which is really nice because that means you get accessibility to items that you need really easily. The loot system is another interesting thing about this game. It's got the generic kind of role-playing game loot system. Like here you can see I've got like blue weapons, which are obviously rares, and they also have like randomly generated suffixes which give them random effects and whatnot. But the thing that I found interesting about this game is, there you can see, Combat Mace of Stunning, can stun the target. It's got those kind of, what do you call them? They're kind of like novelty suffixes, where they do interesting stuff, but they're not outright useful. And I would say that's, like, and most people would look at that and go, that's kind of a bad thing, but I actually really enjoy aspects like this. I've been playing World of Warcraft for a long time, and they've simplified the game down so much that they've gotten rid of a lot of those novelty things. And it's just not that much fun anymore. There's not that much customization or stuff like that left anymore. So it's really nice to see a game that's like, screw it, we're going to put in sometimes useless suffixes and abilities. So, birds. He stole something. Stole my ring. Yeah. Apparently there was a crow there. So yeah, that's also one of the things. The strong point of this game, I have to say, is probably the dialogue. Just because the dialogue is so stupid and so nerdy. It was obviously written by someone who has a passion for video games. Like, no, bad crows. They keep unequipping my rings, damn it. Yeah, the dialogue is really probably the most interesting point of this game. The game itself, honestly, isn't that great. Like, I'm finding it a little bit of a grind to get through certain areas, and I'm not really finding any inspiration to play it myself. Ooh. Hey, I haven't been up here. I'm finding it really hard to play myself because it's not really, the gameplay is not really that rewarding. Like, it just sees you running through areas over and over again for the greater part. Hammer of Twin Attack. I actually kind of want to see what that does. Hammer of Twin Attack. Blessed by the Wind Spirits. This weapon will occasionally grant you 2 strikes with a single attack. That's kind of cool. But yeah, there's nothing, like, I kind of had to force myself to play this game, to be honest. It's fun for a while, but you realize that there's not much to the gameplay. It is really just the same thing over and over again, jumping back and forth, killing things, so... Ooh, hey, a room. Don't let them steal your rings. Well, that's really handy, as it tells me... Ow, traps. As it tells me after I've cleared that room before. Wow, I never went up that ladder. That was genius. Anyway, yeah, the gameplay is not the strongest point of the game, to be honest. It does, however, have some really... It's the main interesting point of this game. The thing that did keep me playing was mostly the dialogue. The dialogue between the characters is really funny, and there's some really fourth wall breaking stuff in here sometimes. Like, the game's kind of silly and it knows it, and it's not really... What happened to that guy? Did my plant just vaporize him? What happened? But, yeah, it's not, it doesn't take itself seriously. This game is really kind of nerdy and really kind of silly sometimes, and that's probably one of its strong points, to be honest. I quite enjoy that little... No! Stop it! I enjoy that little thing about this game. See? My plant's stealing health. From range. Stop it! You're alerting them all. Damn it. But, yeah. That's one thing I've enjoyed about this game. The game's mechanics, the gameplay is fairly responsive and fairly... It's... As you can kind of just see, I'm hacking here through these enemies. My weapon's a little bit overpowered for these enemies, but... Oh well. But, yeah. This is pretty much what the gameplay summarizes to. There is a level up system wherein there are different weapon types and spells and whatnot, but there's also the bosses have weaknesses to certain... I'd say, like, there's a boss that I fought earlier who has a severe weakness to ice, and all of the enemies leading up to him have a severe weakness to ice, so it's kind of crucial that you have some form of ice damage, which for the greater part is the ice magic that is given to you right before that fight, assuming you do the little quest chain. So that means, while there should theoretically be some form of customization in the characters, and you'd think there would be replayability just based purely on the fact that you'd make different characters with different stats and whatnot, and you'd make a wizard and blah 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 blah, you don't actually, just based on the fact that your character has to be an all-rounder the entire game through, otherwise you can have real difficulty with certain fights. No, go away. Yeah, so I'm a little bit disappointed in that fact. I thought this game would have a little bit of replayability, given that it's got like a kind of customization tree of, you can be an archer, you can be a guy with swords and bows and stuff, or you can be a mage. It doesn't work out like that. So far with this playthrough, I've found that I kind of have to balance it out a little bit, otherwise I have real trouble with certain fights. The fire guy, now that I mention that, I might as well bring that up. There are bosses in this game, but the bosses, to be honest, aren't that entertaining. They are really like 2D sprite sort of bosses, what you'd expect from a 2D sprite game. Like, there was a dragon boss who is one of the bosses who I fought, and He literally, his only hitbox was his head. Like, the entire sprite of his character, the only hitbox was his head. Which meant if your attacks hit any other part of his body, they did absolutely nothing to him. They just went straight through him. But that also came at the trade-off of he could only attack you using his head. Why aren't you moving? Come closer. Damn it. He could only attack you using his head. So it also meant for a rather unrealistic sort of thing, I guess you could say. But the boss kind of just flew straight through me, and even though his wings were technically hitting me, they weren't doing any damage or anything, so the fight ended up being really easy just because it was like avoid his head and only his head. So, no. Leave me alone. So yeah, the enemies are varied enough, I guess. Like I said, I've only played through 44% of the game so far, so there's not too much, I guess I could say, but there's a decent variety of enemies. For the greater part, you will kind of find yourself just whacking things with your sword or bow or whatever. Actually, I might as well have a look at the characters here. As you can see, you have points that you spend. You can spend them on whatever you want, which is actually kind of nice, although they are capped at whatever level you are. As you can see, I have 8 Constitution because I'm level 8, and that's as much as I can level it up. While I'm on that note, leveling isn't really... It doesn't feel rewarding. Like, sure, you get some extra points to spend that'll increase your damage and stuff, but that's really it. It's kind of like passive stuff. You don't get anything too interesting. All of your spells, abilities, and weapons will come from playing the game and doing the quests, whereas leveling up doesn't give you anything beyond like passive stats that you won't ever pay attention to. So yeah, that's one other thing that I found rather disheartening about this game. But as you can see down here, 5 Frost. I kind of had to do that to do the fire boss because he had a weakness to ice damage. So yeah, I wanted to build this character kind of all-rounded because you're not guaranteed to have a certain type of weapon the entire game, and you're bound to be at a disadvantage. Like, I had to get axes up a little bit because I was going entirely swords, and I went a little bit into pole arms when I first started because I thought it sounded interesting, and I went a bit into bows because from a range it's always nice to be able to just shoot things, especially if they're melee and they either can't reach you or they're a decent distance where you can pick them off from range. So yeah, you could dip points entirely into certain things if you really wanted to, but it's not that beneficial. So you kind of end up with a well-rounded character, which is also kind of disappointing because that means that there's no reason to play a second time, because you're not like, I'm going to play a mage, because you're like, well, my first character that I ever made is half mage. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. Let's drop down this hole. Where does this go? Oh, this goes here. Yeah, I'll see if I can find a little bit of dialogue. Where was I? The dialogue is easily the strongest point of this game. Like, I quite enjoy the dialogue. The dialogue's kind of funny, and there are some real, like, goofy conversations you have. There's a bit of cursing and swearing. You'll see that in my noob adventures if you want to go and check that out. Oh, that's where the boss was. There's quite a bit... Wait, here we go. Here's one of those nerdy references. Now, you see? That was a trap. I stood on a trap. Now, can you see who that little guy to my left is? Take a random guess who that might be. Take a guess. No, really. Let's see if I can talk to him. Can I talk to him? I can't talk to him anymore. That's General Akbar. Like, this game has General Akbar in it. And all he says to you is, it's a trap. Because this is quite obviously a trap. There are some really silly things like that. Ooh, let's see if I can sneak behind these guys. Nope, they saw me. Oh well. But yeah, dialogue's easily one of my favourite parts about this game. To be honest, I don't think I can find myself compelled enough to finish this game. Like, it's a decent game, but I don't find any compelling reason to finish it, to be honest. I have played better games. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I think the original Castlevania series was a great example of this, and that this was kind of inspired by it. You can just tell just by looking at it. But the original Castlevania story is like rich with story and gameplay mechanics and whatnot. There's some really interesting stuff, but this one I can't really see any real reason to play it through it entirely. It's got some fairly unrelenting combat, which is actually a little bit of a challenge, and I do quite enjoy the combat from time to time because it's a little bit unrelenting. Like up here you can see there's like 5 skeleton guys marching backwards and forth. Yeah, it's your greatest weapon in this game will be like common sense. Like running that room just up ahead, skeletons with one of those little fireball breathing guys, not going to do too well with me. You can also see here I'm doing barely any damage. Common sense being your most powerful ally in this game. During the tutorial, one of the characters has a little rip on you for when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, has a little bit of a rip on you saying, what, you're going to shoot arrows at a skeleton and hope it'll slow him down or something, because it'll just go straight through him. That's pretty much what's happening here. The weapons are kind of classed in a sort of, I'm guessing, slashing, puncture, crushing sort of way, where your crushing weapons do more damage against like solid objects like barrels and skeletons and stuff, whereas these kind of piercing weapons do next to nothing versus skeletons, so it makes sense. I haven't run into any ghosts, but the spirit who takes over your body is having a rip at you for saying that you can kill ghosts with a sword and calling you a liar, so that's something else I'll have to look into once I get up to it. But yeah, as you can see as I'm playing this, the combat does slow down quite a bit in order to do it the most, like, the safest way possible. Is that a sword? What the heck is that? It looks like a giant dildo bat. A skeleton dropped a dildo bat. But anyway, yeah, the combat's really, it's not fantastic, to be honest. I'm gonna steal that. It's a poignard. I think that's a dagger. I'm not sure. Ah! Nope, I'm out of arrows. Okay. Well, that quickly quelled that little bit of excitement. But yeah, I enjoyed it for the first like while that I was playing it. To be honest, it was enjoyable for the first thing while I was getting used to the gameplay and whatnot. But it does get incredibly repetitive. Oh yeah, unrelenting combat. That's the point I was on. See this room up ahead? There's like 2 floating shoulders, one little fiery shoulder and one little purpley, smoky, dark-looking shoulder, and they fire stuff at you. Oh no, the little purpley one is an arcane one, I think, and he fires arcane, bolty sort of things at you. If you get hit with fire, you will burn to death. Like, literally, this game isn't... You don't regenerate HP in this game, and you have to be at a cauldron to make potions, so you're pretty much... Like, your brain is your at best ally. If you do stupid stuff, you'll suffer the consequences of catching fire and being poisoned all at the same time. Skeleton patrol. Yeah. This won't turn out well. Maybe I can knock them off one by one. There we go. They never knew what hit them. If I can hit this last guy. Don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around. No, screw you. Armor broken. Yeah. The enemies kind of get stun locked sometimes, so if you have a fast enough weapon, you can just kind of pummel them to death and they won't be able to do anything. Hello! Let's not fight you guys, I can't be bothered. Yeah, they'll kind of just do that. I don't think I really have too much else to say about this game at this point. It's been fun, but I don't think I'll actually complete it, just based on the fact that it's not fun enough to make me want to finish it. It's quite a long game at this point. Like, I've played it for a decent amount of time, and I'm still barely anywhere in it. Turn around. Yeah, this little frog guy kind of eats bugs from a distance, and that's good, because those spiders are a bit of a pain. Let's do a little bit of magic. As you can see, burning that thing alive, the fire damage is slowly going down, so let's top it up a little bit. Yeah. That's kind of cool. I like that little feature. But, yeah. No! Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing that one of the main aspects of what a game like this you'd think would be combat, but the combat's not really that fantastic. The dialogue easily carries the game enough, but the multiplayer might be worth checking out, but for what it's worth, there's nothing really worth checking out at this point. I think I might as well wrap it up here, because I've really got nothing else to say. I'm kind of just reiterating what I've said. I did enjoy it at first, but it got really repetitive really, really quickly, and the dialogue wasn't enough to carry it. The dialogue was the one thing I was sticking around for, and that kind of wore out really quickly. The dialogue thins out a little bit as the game goes on. And they've tried to do a little bit of character development, but it's a little bit... How do I say it? It's a little bit obvious as to what happens. Like, the spirit who possesses you kind of eventually gets to the point where he starts liking you or starts disliking you less. I don't know how to put it, but yeah, there's nothing too over the top. Sorry I couldn't show you any quests or any boss fights. The boss fights are a little bit... The boss fights are really simple, to put it bluntly. They're nothing... It'd be nice to see some cool mechanics, but there's nothing too interesting about them. Yeah, that kind of sums up my experiences on Unepic so far. It's been pretty good, but like I said, I haven't really found any real reason or any real compelling reason to want to play it all the way through to completion. It's for the $9 I spent on it. I'd say it was an alright buy. I got 6 hours of enjoyment out of it so far. I may come back and finish it at some point. So if you like these kind of games and you really think you'll enjoy the dialogue, I'm sorry I couldn't show you any. You can check out my noob adventures to see what the dialogue is like. Then go for it. Buy this game by all means. Like, really, it's pretty It's decent. It is decent. Let's kill you silently. No teleporting. Yeah. You've seen me encounter like 5 or 6 different enemies now, and that's pretty much what the combat summed up to, is me smacking them in the face with my axe. So yeah, I think I might wrap it up here. Well, this has been Unepic. If you've liked what you've seen, you might as well go out and buy the game. $9 US or $8 US. I can't quite remember, to be honest. It's somewhere like that. Now I'm going to see if I can get this guy when he drops down. Nope. No, you. Die. Don't shoot sparkles at me. I'll kill you. Kill you with my axe. No, stop teleporting. Alley-oop. Aha. Yeah. Anyway, this has been Seffyr. This is kind of my last review on Unepic. If you like what you see, go and buy it. $8.99 US or $7.99 US. I can't even remember anymore. Side-scrolling RPG. If you enjoy Castlevania, you might enjoy it, so go out and grab it. It's recently been greenlit, so things may or may not change. It's in early access. Completely up to you. Some fun mechanics. Some interesting little ideas here and there. Really, the dialogue is the most interesting thing about the game, to be honest. But, yeah, no, that's up to each person is up to deciding that themselves. You're all grown up enough to know that kind of stuff and be able to make up your minds about this kind of stuff. But that's Unepic. I'm signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.